Hi, this is Joe again with another review. Instead of doing a baseball, well, it is a baseball movie, but this is a review of the Ken Burns baseball series that aired originally in 1994, and then the update that aired in 2010. It was called the 10th inning. And instead of going through the episodes one by one, I'm going to do an overview of the whole series. The original series that aired in 1984 was Ken Burns' follow-up to the Civil War, which aired on PBS in 1990. And 4 years later was the second big or major miniseries, which was baseball. And what he did was he divided it up with like an 18.5-hour documentary spaced over about a week and a half with a couple of days off in between. And he divided the 7.9 parts or 9 episodes into 9 innings. And each one is about almost like a feature-length film unto itself. The first part dealt with the 19th century baseball, which discovered with how baseball evolved from town ball and rounders into the game that we know. One of the things that he disputed was right away was the first that Abner Doubleday was supposedly the guy who created baseball in Cooperstown, New York in 1839, which over the years plenty of baseball historians figured out that it wasn't the case. That actually credit should be given to Alexander Joy Cartwright, who was in the Hall of Fame, and Abner Doubleday. You figure the guy who played baseball would be in the Baseball Hall of Fame by now, in 2013. But it was Alexander Joy Cartwright who now down the lose, made the number of players from 18 down to 9 on one side, and lowered it from whoever scored 21 runs to 9 whoever had 9 innings, and that type of thing. And then how baseball spread, and how the first actual game that people paid to see was in Hoboken, New Jersey, in the Elysian Fields, which years later, Macro House made a mill to build coffee, which eventually in 1992 closed down in 1992. But that's how the first episode pretty much went. The second episode, which dealt with the first decade of the 20th century from 1900 to 1910, and of course it started with how the American League got started. It got started in 1901. The National League started in 1876. So that's why the National League was called the Senior Circuit, and the American League was called the Junior Circuit. And in 1903, they talked about how the first World Series came about in 1903, and why in 1904, where we didn't have a World Series, was because of John McGraw, who managed the Giants, didn't want to have the World Series because he was mad at the American League president, was Ben Johnson. So that's why there was no World Series in 1904. But the biggest thing that was in the second episode was with Ty Cobb, the emergence of Ty Cobb, and how racist he was and how hated he was as a player. And in 1908 was when taking out to the ball game was written. And of course one of the most famous blunders, and the first real major blunder in baseball history was made with Milko Boner, where a player on the Giants named Fred Milko, because the Giants went to pennant race with the Cubs, and in a closer game at the Polo Grounds, he was on first because the regular first baseman was injured. So Fred Milko played first, and he was in the bottom of the 9th inning, and another player got base. It was runners on first and third. Milko was on first, and a guy got a base. The next guy up got a base hit, and the winning run and penalty scored. And the fans were storming the field. And friend Moko thought it was, hey, it was an error. The run first scored, so he never took second base. So the National League called it a tie, and it was replayed later on, and the Giants won. And of course, the Cubs won the playoff game, and they went to the World Series. And of course, those last years, the Cubs won the World Series with 1908. That was a major thing. The third part, which I thought was the most interesting episode of the first 5 that year, was they had the big thing was, of course, the Black Sox scandal. 1919 was that's the first 40 or 45 minutes of that particular episode was with the Black Sox scandal. Of course, those who don't know, that was when the year when in 1919, when the White Sox or Chicago White Sox went to the World Series, 8 of the players conspired to throw the World Series to gamblers who paid them off. And that, of course, was the basis of a baseball movie called 8 Men Out, which I might discuss in another review. But that's what was the basis of it is. And it was a very good episode. And also discussed how Fenway Park was built, the first World Series of the Brooklyn Dodgers. You can see on my shirt, that's the team. That's also the centerpiece of the Ken Burns baseball series was the Brooklyn Dodgers, which we'll get to in a minute. And of course, the end of the episode was with the coming of Babe Ruth, which was discussed in episode 4. And the fourth thing was with with Babe Ruth. And he got traded to the Yankees, and of course the whole Yankee dynasty in the 1920s, and how the first couple of times when the Yankees went to the World Series, they lost to the New York Giants, and at that time they shared the same stadium. And John McGraw, who was still managing the Giants until the 1930s, was discussing that the Yankees were outdrawing the Giants in their own stadium, because the Yankees and the Giants were both sharing the Polo Grounds. And that's why John McGraw pretty much pushed the Yankees out, and they moved across the Harlem River to the Bronx, and they built Yankee Stadium. And the reason why they picked that specific location was to stick it to the Giants for kicking them out. That's why the stadium, the original Yankee Stadium is where it is. And of course, the new stadium was built right across the street from there. And in those days, from the 20s to when the Giants moved out, you could literally walk across the bridge to both the Polo Grounds and to Yankee Stadium. Anyway, that's what pretty much was the 1920s episode. The 1930s, of course, if you ever catch the baseball series on your local PBS station, this particular episode, the next 3 episodes are always constantly airing, because this was the centerpiece of the whole series in Ken Burns' mind. And because it was the point where it concentrates on the Negro Leagues in the 1930s, and for the 1940s where it concentrated on Jackie Robinson, and in the 1950s as well, when concentrating on the Brooklyn Dodgers and Jackie Robinson. But any other series episode from the original series has never aired only once before the original airing, which is, as a baseball fan, it's ridiculous that they don't air the other episodes. I don't know why, but that's what Ken Burns only allows the episodes of the League release, because throughout the original series up to the point of Jackie Robinson, Ken Burns pushed the idea that the right owners were all 100% racist. All the players were racist, because they didn't allow the blacks to play with them on the teams. So they said, they pushed the racist. Ken Burns pushed the racist angle, like you wouldn't believe, in this series. And after a while, you get pushed off of that, particularly in the episodes of the 1930s, because most of it was concentrated on the Negro Leagues, and you didn't have the players who were still alive. And the time that Ken Burns was making them out and doing the interviewing now the Negro Leaguers, and they're all telling their stories of certain players, especially Buck O'Neil, who was the first who died in 2006, who didn't make the Baseball Hall of Fame, which is ridiculous. Anyway, he kept telling all these stories, but like Satchel Paige and Josh Gibson and Cool Papa Bell and all these other players. This is well and good, but if you actually saw them play, you don't even know who these guys even are. Those names have crossed over, and they are in the Baseball Hall of Fame, Cooperstown. But most kids, particularly black kids, don't know who they even are. If you grew up in that time, in the Negro Leagues, you knew who they were because they crossed over. And Cool Papa Bell, Josh Gibson, all the big names who were in the Negro Leagues, and names were crossed over. And second, like Satchel Paige, and Marty Irwin, and even Hank Aaron played in the Negro Leagues. But that's what he comes from. And the story that bothered me and bothered my father was the very last story in that particular episode, where Buck O'Neil tells a story about how the Kansas City Monarchs and the Pittsburgh Crawfords, I think it was the Pittsburgh Crawfords, played in the World Series one year, in the Negro League World Series, and they had Josh Gibson was on one team and Satchel Paige was on the other team. And Satchel Paige says, "Look, I want to walk the bases loaded so I could face Josh Gibson with bases loaded and 2 out." And Buck O'Neil calls the manager out and said, "This is what he wants to do." So okay, let's do it. And after he walks the bases loaded, Satchel Paige calls the trainer out, and his trainer was Jew Baby Floyd. And to say that blacks cannot be racist is that's what Ken West pretty much implies, that only the whites can be racist and nobody else can be racist. Only whites can be racist with blacks, but blacks cannot be racist themselves. Well, if you have a black trainer, Jew Baby Floyd, that's not racist. I don't know what is. And that's how it started. And of course, eventually, Satchel Paige struck out Josh Gibson in the game, and that's how the 1930s part ended. Well, the next episode was the 1940s, which was episode 6. And the episode, of course, the centerpiece was, of course, Jackie Robinson came into the to play for the Brooklyn Dodgers. And yes, the Dodgers were in Brooklyn, because one time I went to the Baseball Hall of Fame. I was taking a picture of a life-size picture, a cardboard picture of Ebbets Field. A woman comes up from behind me and asks me, "Oh, which team played there?" I told her the Brooklyn Dodgers played there. And she said the Dodgers were in Brooklyn. And not only was she a woman, which I can understand, not women don't know much about sports, but she was a black woman who didn't know the Dodgers played in Brooklyn. Anyway, that's what the first part, like the first hour or so, centered on the Ted Williams. First, Joe DiMaggio with his 56-game hitting streak. Then they switched to Ted Williams hitting 4, and they becoming the last player there at 406. And then they're talking about the Brooklyn Dodgers, who won the pennant in 1941. And then of course the war came. And they talked about the Women's League. Well, in this particular episode, before, and then of course talking about Jackie Robinson later on, but in this particular episode is where they messed up on our errors. One in particular was an ending mistake. When talking about DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak, they showed him hitting a home run in Ebbets Field. So okay, what's the big deal about that? Well, the only time that DiMaggio ever played in Ebbets Field was in 1941 in the World Series, 1947, 1949, and his last year, 1951, plus the 1949 All-Star game, plus any other Mayor's Trophy game, which was an exhibition game between a couple of New York teams, either the Yankees playing the Giants or the Yankees playing the Dodgers, or the Dodgers and Giants, and they have like the three teams in New York playing games against each other. And it was the only time that DiMaggio ever played in Ebbets Field. It was against the Dodgers, either the World Series or the 1949 All-Star game. It was held in Ebbets Field. So that was one mistake. The other mistake was when they talked about the Girls League, which they did in my review of League of Their Own, went from 1943 to 1954. In this episode, I mentioned only goes up to 1952. Mistake. Cameras. So then, of course, after the war, that's when I'm talking about Jackie Robinson. When he first got signed, when he played in Montreal, and then, of course, when he played for the Dodgers. And, of course, he was told that for the first 3 years, not to fight back against the umpires, against racist taunts and remarks by other players or umpires or fans and stuff like that. And then, of course, after 1949, that's when he was released from his bond with Branch Rickey, who signed him. And the 1940s port ended with the death of Babe Ruth, who died in 1948. The next port, which was the seventh thing, was with the 1950s. Because the first episode was talking about, the first part of it was talking about the Yankees winning 5 championships in a row. Then the rest was talking about Jackie Robinson, how he was finally back. And then, of course, in 1951, when the Dodgers won the pennant on the Bobby Thompson home run. And you all know that the Giants cheated with this buzzer system they had in the polo grounds. Then, of course, they talked about 1954 with the Willie Mays catch. Then, we're talking about when the Dodgers finally won the World Series in '55. And the last part of the 1950s was because they talked about the Don Lawson perfect game. And then, of course, when Ted Williams retired in 1960, they actually touched in 1960 because Ted Williams retired then. And he, of course, ended his career by hitting a home run in Fenway Park. And not Fenway Park, Fenway Park. And that's how the 1950s episode ended. And, of course, episode 8 was with 1960 when the Mets story. And there's another problem I have with the Ken Burns series, that he doesn't give the Mets enough credit for anything. Because he seems like a bitter person, because the Mets came into the league and that took the place over the Dodgers and the Giants when they moved out. And of course the Mets were, of course, an actual joke when they first came in, because they lost 120 games in 1962. And they doesn't give the Mets, especially in the early years, they didn't give him any credit anyway because it was so awful. But in 1969, he started the series, that episode, with one of the worst teams in baseball history. For a brief moment, became the best team. And the Mets won the World Series in '69. Well, he doesn't give the Mets credit for even winning the World Series in '69 because they figured he pretty much implied that it was a fluke and the Mets won in 1969. And it doesn't give him a better credit for winning. Well, and the rest of the series, of course, dealt with when Stan Musial retired in '63, when Carl Yastrzemski. There's another one of the problems. Most of the problems in the baseball series were ending problems. Particularly in the beginning part of the series, we're talking about Roger Maris scoring for 61 home runs in 1961. They have a better way he hits a home run in one part like either Wrigley Field, and another part where he's hitting a home run off a pitcher for Cincinnati. Of course, in 1961, the Yankees did play Cincinnati in the World Series, but he doesn't show very much hitting home runs in the regular season, does at that particular moment. And of course, they showed the moment when he does hit the 61st home run. And that's pretty much practically it. And then, of course, when you go to Carl Yastrzemski in 1967, when he carried the Red Sox to the pennant, the ending problem looks like he was hitting in Shea Stadium in the World Series in 1969 instead of batting in third. But it was a lot of ending mistakes, particularly in that particular section of that episode. But it was a good episode despite those ending mistakes. But the biggest ending mistake is coming on like a little bit later on, which we're going to discuss in a minute. The next part was the final part, which is episode 9, which covers the 1970s and the 1980s, which I had a big problem with this one, because instead of dividing it like an hour for the 1970s, it was a 2.5-hour thing. So instead of saying, oh, they could take an hour 15 minutes for the 70s and an hour 15 minutes in the 1980s, you could easily even it up properly for both decades. What he did was he spent over an hour on the 1970s, ending of course with the 1979 Pittsburgh Pirates who won the World Series. But then he talked about the early one. We talked about Bill Clemente when he won the 1971 World Series for the Pirates, and then was killed in the crash. One thing they didn't put in was about the 1973 Mets. Like I said, this is when Ken Burns doesn't give the Mets credit for anything. He doesn't even discuss the New York Mets pretty much in the entire series, except the entire episode, until of course the 86 World Series when because he talked about the Red Sox. How big it is for the Red Sox all the time. So that's what Ken Burns decided to was focus on the Red Sox and not on the Mets in the 80s. So that's what Ken Burns decided to do. And he then talked about the 73 Mets with Tom McGraw with the You Gotta Believe team, with Yogi Berra managing. He came up with famous saying, "It ain't over till it's over" in 1973. He didn't do that at all, Ken Burns. So he didn't even discuss from 1969 to 1986. He didn't even discuss the Mets at all. Which, as a Mets fan, was good. He focused on the stupid Yankees, focused on the Red Sox and the Dodgers. Those were the three main teams. The Brooklyn Dodgers. Those were the three main teams that Ken Burns really focused on during the series. Rightly or wrongly, that's what Ken Burns decided to do. And he did focus on Steinbrenner brought the Yankees, and then he of course discussed on the centerpiece of the 1970s really was the 1975 World Series, particularly Game 6, with the Carlton Fisk home run when Payne called the greatest baseball game ever played. And then of course in the end of the 1970s to discuss the 79 Pirates. And then with the 1980s, which was the second half of the last episode, he doesn't even pick up 1980 when the Phillies finally won, which is one of the original teams of the National League was formed in 1876. When they finally won the World Series in 1980, doesn't even discuss that. Didn't even discuss the 1981 strike. He didn't discuss the Cardinals winning the World Series in 1982, which they never won again until 2006. He doesn't discuss the Pine Tar game in '83. And when George Berra, the famous Pine Tar, was one of the most infamous incidents in the early '80s. Was that incident? Other than the '81 strike, this is the second biggest incident in the early '80s. And then you have the '84 Tigers, doesn't discuss the '84 Tigers at all. Or the Kansas City Royals winning the World Series, coming from behind in both in the playoffs and the World Series to win the first and only World Series for Kansas City. Doesn't discuss that. The only thing that he picked up in '85 was when Pete Rose broke Ty Cobb's all-time hit record. It was the only thing he discussed in '85 at all. And then he discussed, and this around the same time Pete Rose broke the hit record was when he had the famous Pittsburgh drug trials, when cocaine was the drug of choice in baseball at that time. And you had Dave Parker, you had even Willie Stargell. That's why the Pirates, when you play for the Pirates, they call him Pops. Because he supplied the whole Pittsburgh Pirates team with drugs. Plus other players like Keith Hernandez, Dwight Green, Brian Blue, Lamar Hoy, Tim Maines. Yogi Berra's son Dale Berra was addicted, and that's what pretty much discussed in that point. And then of course the next thing discussed was the 1986 Red Sox, and he didn't give the Mets credit at all for winning that World Series. You can see in the background here, behind me, with the 86 Mets, and of course the Buckner era here. You can't really see it because of the glare from the lights in my room here. The Buckner era game. That's when he, went above and beyond, saying, "Oh, the only reason why the Mets won the World Series in '86 was because of the Buckner era, and that's it. That's the only reason why the Mets won was because of the Buckner era. Nothing else." Then say that the Mets came from behind to tie the World Series in Fenway after losing the first two games. The Mets came back, won 2 out of 3 in Boston, which Ken Woods does mention when put in. Discussed, but mostly focused on the 6th game because how the Red Sox lost the 6th game because the Mets tied it up, which one fact that Ken Woods did not put in, and which one fact a lot of people forget was the Mets was important. Actually, was Davey Johnson had managed right, the manager of the Mets then managed right. The Mets should have won the Game 6 of the '86 World Series in the bottom of the 9th inning on a sacrifice fly by Lee Mazzilli. Because what happened was the Mets got the first 2 guys on, Ray Knight and then Mookie Wilson, destroyed the bottom of the 9th, and Howard Johnson came up as a pinch hitter, and he was called for the bunt. He missed on the first pitch to bunt the ball. They never attempted the bunt again, and he eventually struck out on a foul tip. And because of that, he never tried again. And the next batter was Lee Mazzilli. After he pulled the ball foul, and if he pulled it too much, if it was a line drive that went foul, if he straightened that ball out a little bit, the Mets would have won on a 3-1 home run. But two pitches later, Lee Mazzilli hit a fly ball to Jim Rice, who caught the ball on a warning track, in left field, straight right left field in Shea Stadium, and they would have easily scored Ray Knight on third base, and the Mets would have won on that. But of course, they didn't do that. Of course, Dave Henson comes over in the 10th inning, hits a home run. That fact in the bottom of the 9th inning was forgotten about by Ken Woods and by most people. And so, of course, Dave Henson leads off the top of the 10th inning, he hits the home run, and then he's won another one, and then, of course, the Mets came back with 2 outs in the 9th inning, and now back in the 10th inning, and scored and won on that. On the wild, basically they won on the wild, only one legitimate run was scored in that inning was the base hit by Ray Knight. Gary Clark got a base hit with 2 out. Kevin Mitchell got a base hit with 2 out. And then with 2 strikes and 2 out on Ray Knight, he got a base hit. Scores Gary Clark. And then Mitchell went to third. Kevin Mitchell went to third base. And then with a 2-2 count on Mookie Wilson, again on 2 strikes. And 1 strike left, and the game was over. The game of the World Series was over. Bob Stanley threw a wild pitch. Scores Mitchell. Knight went to second base. And of course, Wilson then hit the famous ground ball. It was right behind me here. Through Buckner's legs. And of course, the Mets won the game. And of course, they eventually won the World Series 2 nights later because Game 7 was originally rained out. On Monday night, October 27th, the Mets won the World Series. So instead of giving the Mets, credit, he said, "Oh, because the Mets only won because of the stupid Chris and the Bambino. That's it." And then, of course, the next thing to talk about, again, he brings race back into it. Ken Woods brings race back into the whole equation. They're saying the famous interview by Al Campanis on Nightline. He says, "Oh, the Blacks don't have the necessities to, or the desire to manage in baseball." And of course, he was fired by the Dodgers. He was working for them then, and of course, there's more of the whole racial thing again. And then he said when they had the collusion, and of course, he had the thing with the Dodgers, which one thing that Ken Woods didn't bring up again was the Dodgers who were decisive underdogs against the Mets in the playoffs. They beat the Mets in the playoffs in 7 games, and then of course he beat the Dodgers. The Dodgers beat Oakland. And this is where the biggest inning mistake came in. I mentioned earlier, which when Eckersley gave the home run, the famous home run to Kirk Gibson, they reversed the lettering. They flipped the negative, like I accidentally did on my Lucas review, but when you watch my Lucas review, the picture is flipped. That's what Ken Burns did. He flipped the negative, and you can tell that the negative of the picture is flipped because you can read the name Eckersley on Dennis Eckersley's uniform was backwards, and the 8 on the hat was also backwards. And nobody paid attention to that mistake. And of course, then we had to go back because in 1987, we're talking about collusion. That nobody wanted. There were certain players who went free agent in 87, 88, 89, and nobody signed them. In 1987, when Andre Dawson went free agent, nobody wanted him, which was a bunch of bull, because he was signed by the Chicago Cubs, and he said he gave the Cubs an empty contract. Just signed the contract with his name, and he goes to the Cubs, went to the Cub management and said, "Hey, put out any number you want," and I agreed to it. And that's what the Cubs did. And the Cubs were the only team that had enough to sign, and said, "Okay, we can get him for cheap." And that's what the Cubs did. And of course, he ended up winning the MVP in 87 with the Cubs. The player that nobody wanted was Tim Maines, and he was forced to re-sign with the Expos. And so that's another mistake that he made. And of course, he saw the 89 earthquake. Of course, in 1989, that's when Pete Rose got banned. And then, of course, for the last few minutes of the documentary, showed a lot of clips from 1990, 91, and 92. And he didn't even talk about the Braves and Twins, who were in last place in 1990, were playing against each other in the World Series in 91, with the Twins winning in 7 games. At that point, he didn't mention the Twins won the 91 World Series, didn't mention that fact. And then in 92, again, Ken Burns brought up the racial angle again, talking about the Toronto Blue Jays winning the World Series in 92, and he mentioned the fact that the Blue Jays had a manager named Tito Gaston who was a black man. He had to bring up that fact. And we already heard that, so that also bothered me. So that was the original series. The updated series was born to place in the 90s and the 2000s, and in 2010 for the 10th inning. And what happened was he mostly talked about the steroid era. We're talking about the Braves in the 90s, and then saying the Braves were so only good enough to win the division, he didn't bring up that fact. But he did mention the Braves finally won the World, and there was very few errors in the 10th inning compared to the original series. And mostly saying on what he didn't do, when he left out, which he should have put in, was in 2001 when baseball finally returned to Brooklyn in 2001. The formation of the minor league Brooklyn Cyclones. We could easily focus on this segment on them, and then go into the World Trade Center. But he didn't do that. He focused on Barry Bonds' race for breaking Mark McGwire's record for 3 years earlier, which of course we all know that both McGwire's record, Sosa's record, and Barry Bonds was all fake because of the steroid use. And so he focused on Barry Bonds and not the Brooklyn Cyclones. And baseball was starting in Brooklyn in 2001. And because I know, because I have partial season tickets planned for the Cyclones in 2001, and in the playoffs, they had the best record in the New York Penn League in the single A short season A League, and then they won the best record going away. And they beat the Staten Island Yankees in the 2 out of 3 playoffs, and then they were going to play in the 2 out of 3 playoffs in the championship series. Got canceled. They played the first game. The rest of the series got canceled because of 9/11. Because 9/11 happened on September 11th, and the first game was on September 10th. And then the next game was supposed to be on September 12th, and the rest of the series got canceled. And the Cyclones and the Williamsport Cross Colors were named co-champions. That part of them, Ken Burns didn't put in, and they focused on Barry Bonds. And then, of course, again, Ken Burns does not give the Mets any credit because the first baseball sporting event happened in New York City after 9/11 was the New York Mets playing the Atlanta Braves in Shea Stadium on September 21st, 2001, and Mike Piazza hit a home run in the bottom of the 8th inning to win the game for the Mets. Ken Burns does not bring it up, he does brought up the stupid Yankees. And when they played in the World Series in 2001 against Arizona, and all those two crazy games 4 and 5 in Yankee Stadium, and of course the Yankees losing in Arizona. So he focused on the stupid Yankees carrying New York City into the playoffs, into the World Series, but doesn't discuss the first actual sporting event with the Mets and how much the Mets did to help the city, because Shea Stadium was not Yankee Stadium, but Shea Stadium was hosted as a staging area for the workers who were going to the Trade Center to help pull victims out and to clean up the World Trade Center area, the Ground Zero area, as it was called now. But because the Mets did all that stuff, not the Yankees. Where the hell were the Yankees? All the Yankees did was they show up to 9/11 and the World Trade Center, and that's it. And they thank the workers for the work, and that's it. And then the Yankees Stadium was not staying in the staging area. They played the first game in Yankee Stadium, was played in Shea Stadium, and it was the Mets. Ken Burns left that out. So that's what really bothered me. And of course, pretty much the rest of the series, the 10th inning, was with the steroid era. And of course, it could have been better. The 10th inning, it wasn't god awful, but it could have been better if they put the Brooklyn Cyclones in, and they gave the Mets more credit, which Ken Burns never did. And I'm surprised that they didn't bring in more of the racial stuff. Or they were going after Barry Bonds because he was black. I'm surprised that Ken Burns didn't do that. So that's my review of the Ken Burns baseball series. I know it's a little bit long, but thank you for watching the series and watching my video. I'll catch you next time.